I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, it's September 2022. At least that's when I'm probably going to post this video. The title of this one is going to be Where Are All the Cranes? And if you drive into downtown Vancouver, if you live in downtown Vancouver, have a look around at how many construction cranes you see in this city right now. Not many. Very few, especially when you consider, what a hot real estate market we've had here for the last couple of decades. Major housing shortage, no inventory, no supply, people holding tight to what they do have. You would expect, of course, to see cranes all over the place. A boomtown, 20, 30, 40 cranes and new condos going up all over the place, but you're not. If you drive into downtown Vancouver right now, you're going to see a crane over here on the Butterfly on Burrard and Nelson. Though that was pre-sold about three and a half years ago. They're on about the 30th floor there. There's a few others. There's a little bit on Robson, that Landmark. There's a rental building there that has a crane on it still. They just took the cranes down on the post office complex there, but that's mostly, there's some condo, but mostly office in there. There's a couple of cranes in Cole Harbour, the Stack, office tower again. Very little residential construction ongoing, and I've got news for you. Very little is on the horizon here. The developers are on the sidelines. They have been for many, many years now. So if you guys remember 2.5 years ago when COVID hit, I had told you guys, hey, listen, don't do anything dumb. Don't sell like the media was telling you. We're going to head in for a major correction here. I had said, hey, listen, inventory is very low, nothing for sale. Interest rates are incredibly low. Desirable city, hold tight. Let's see. And I also said at that time, you're going to start to see what I called that coiled spring effect. Developers, because of COVID, weren't going to build. You couldn't. We're under COVID lockdown. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I did not foresee the rip that we ended up getting during COVID, where detached homes were up 50-60%, condos up probably 25-30%, out in the Fraser Valley and other parts of Canada up even more. Never saw that coming, but that's what real estate markets, what stock markets can do. Nobody has a crystal ball. It can play tricks on you. It can surprise you in many ways. Now, maybe mark this video down, tuck this one away, and let's revisit it in 3 or 4 years, because I'm forecasting here another, what I call that coiled spring effect. COVID basically shut down all development here for over a couple of years. And now, of course, with the interest rates coming out of COVID, we're bumping up interest rates. The economy, we're probably going to be headed for a recession here shortly. Might not be that severe and probably short-lived, but I think that's probably where we're going to be able to get inflation under control. We're going to have to put the economy into a recession. But I blogged about this several months ago on that article that I saw in Business in Vancouver, how developers are all on the sidelines for a myriad of reasons, and I'll list them off through you here. Number one, COVID, of course. That shut down everything for 1.5 years. Now, coming out of COVID, things are probably even worse now for developers. We've got inflation running hot at 6, 7, 8%. We've got a unfriendly business environment, both at the city level, City of Vancouver, the provincial level with the NDP, as well as federally with the Liberals. They are not business friendly. If you think they are, you're nuts. We've got inflation again running hot. We've got supply chain problems. Still incredibly difficult to get things like glass and rebar, plumbing supplies, etc. We've got a labor shortage going on. We've had that labor shortage for skilled tradespeople for a long time. Rebar, concrete guys, electricians, plumbers. We have got a severe shortage of labor in this province, in the construction industry, and have for a long time. So, it's almost like a perfect storm here. High interest rates, interest rates moving up, inflation running hot, supply chain problems, unfriendly government, headed for a recession. So, any developers are smart. They are not going to go near securing land, although a lot of cases they have the land now and they've been sitting on it for decades in some cases. I'll talk to you in a minute, mention in a minute here. But as I said in that Business in Vancouver article that came out 3 or 4 months ago, these developers cannot put together a pro forma. A pro forma essentially is, what is it going to cost us to secure the land? We have the land. Hire a architect, hire a pre-sale company, run it through the city hall, get the development permits done, hire the construction company, hire the marketing company, pre-sell these units, and then turn the keys over in 3, 4, 5, 6 years. What do we have to sell these units for today to navigate the next 5 years to make a profit? And they're in business to make a profit. And listen, developers are not, fat cat making money hand over fist on these developments, as I've said many times. They're making a decent enough profit for the risk that they're taking, but they are not going anywhere near this market right now. Why would they? With everything that's going on right now. So essentially new development has stopped. And if you want proof of that, I've talked about this many times before in passing on my blog here. In the West End, I would say over the last 5 or 6 years, there are at least 15 to 20 development permit boards up on sites with 30 to 55-story tower renderings on there. None of them have moved forward. None. Because the other thing is, of course, is something called an absorption rate. These are all going to be luxury condos only. 1,800 a square foot, 2,000 a square foot and up. These are luxury condos for multimillionaire buyers. That is all that's going to be built now. And moving forward, the days of getting a $800 a square foot condo, which was still considered by most people pretty expensive, are long gone. The days of getting $1,000 a square foot are pretty much long gone. There's still some $1,100 a square foot, $1,200 a square foot you can still buy. I actually just sold one in June on the buying side. Tremendous deal. Paid just over $1,000 a square foot for a 9-year-old concrete. Pretty darn good buy. That's why I often said, if you can get in here for $1,050, $1,100, $1,200 a square foot, either live in it or put a tenant in it. These one bedrooms now are renting for $2,500, $2,600 a month. You should buy it, because those days, that ship has sailed. Anything coming online in downtown is going to be substantially more than that. And that's if we even get anything built, for God's sake. Nothing is coming down the pipeline, folks, in these luxury units, because with the absorption rate, these developers understand that if we build a 300-unit luxury building, there's only so many buyers for that. We can't build, Boza build this one, Ani build this one, Amvicom build this one, and we flood the market with 2,000 luxury units. It's going to be a disaster. There are not 2,000 multimillionaires to absorb that, plus all the tangible stock that's always on the MLS. So for that reason, the absorption rate, it's going to be a trickle-in supply. Everything now is dead. And even moving forward for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're not going to see a whole lot getting built here in the luxury market for the reasons I've just laid out. But if you walk down in the West End alone, if you go down Thurlow to Barclay, Thurlow to Burnaby, Thurlow and Harwood, probably 8 development boards up there with high-rise condos. If you go down Alberni Street, you're probably going to see at least 7 or 8 development boards there. Same thing with the Georgia Corridor. Nothing is being built. If these boards have been up for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, many of them have been vandalized, kicked over, nothing is happening. It is deader than dead right now. So this is going to be that coiled spring effect that I tell people about. Yeah, interest rates are going up. The market is going to start to slow. It has started to slow. But immigration is still coming into this city. What is it? 35, 40,000 people a year coming into the Lower Mainland. Investors are still active. The rental market is the tightest it's ever been that I've ever seen in over 35 years. So this is that coiled spring effect. Demand will keep increasing, but new supply is pretty much going to be non-existent or trickle in. So once these interest rates level off, and they will, I'm seeing economists now already saying that this tightening will end in early 2023. Don't be surprised if by mid-2023 next summer, we're talking about real estate or interest rate reductions, because they're always going to overshoot. There's always a delay. Personally, I think in the US and in Canada, inflation has peaked. It peaked last month, but there's a delayed effect there. They will continue the tightening long after inflation has peaked, because it's going to take another 6 to 12 months for that to get through the economy. But mark this video down, revisit it in 3 or 4 years. You're going to see this coiled spring effect. That's why I say if you've bought a house or you own a condo or a home in Vancouver, enjoy it, sit on it. You're going to make a boatload of capital gains over the next 15 or 20 years. If you're an investor, and you can still, which I can still get you in at 1,100, 1,150 a square foot, those units will rent for 2,500, 2,600 a month. The rental market is incredibly tight and only getting tighter. If you've got the money, the $150,000 down, put the 20% down, buy an investment unit at 1,100, 1,200 a square foot, you're going to be looking pretty good on that in 10 or 15 years. Save this video, just like you did with the COVID one I did. Don't have a crystal ball, but we'll see. Eventually, interest rates will get leveled off. They're still going to stay very low, in my opinion, compared to historical averages. Nothing being built. The cavalry is not on the way as far as new development, and once they do start, it will be luxury condos only. It will be a trickle-in supply due to the absorption rate. And demand for housing, living in Vancouver, new immigration, students, contract workers living downtown, and wanting a reasonable rent. Reasonable rent now for a one bed is $2,500, $2,600. You know, rent on one of these newer luxury condos on a one bed is going to be $3,500. So that's going to be a select renter there for sure. But it will be a coiled spring effect. There are no cranes, nothing coming. It's a real quagmire right now. COVID knocked 2.5 years off of any type of construction, and you're going to see more of that moving forward with the economy, the inflation, the supply chain problems, the economy, interest rates going up. It's not a good environment for developers to wade into right now. They can't even put together a pro forma. You will see some development more out in the suburbs, the Coquitlums, the Fraser Valleys. You'll see some for sure, but even that's going to be at probably lucky to get 1,000 a square foot starting. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.